Yes.
This is time for citizens' comments.
Okay.
Do you have some?
Yes.
Cindy Munson, Mesquite, Texas. Please take a look at the handout just given to you. This is a look at the website that my husband Greg maintains on all vet discipline by this board, since you no longer provide reliable information on your own website. Little by little, this board has destroyed the reliability of its own information by removing disciplinary actions that win. All the vets that you see highlighted in yellow on your handout do not appear online in the board's disciplinary summary. What you are looking at is the actions taken at the March meeting. Only 3 out of 23 vets receiving agreed orders had their names appear online in the board's disciplinary summary. That is a disgrace. What does Greg's website mean to Texans? It means that thanks to a consumer advocate, they have access to the complete disciplinary records of the board against vets in Texas. Right now, if you go to the board's website, you may or may not see the name of a disciplined vet. This board decides who stays on the list and who goes. But disciplinary action is public record. The board cannot alter the public records yourselves, so you play games with how that information is distributed. This has resulted in a great disservice to the people of Texas, who could assume that if their veterinarian's name is not on the board's website, then the vet has a clean record. Even worse and extremely misleading is the verification page on the board's website. On this page, you can type in a veterinarian's name and search for their license information. Take a look at pages 4 and 5 of the handout. Notice that these are veterinarians that are highlighted yellow on the previous pages. The last column is for disciplinary action received. Do you see the N in that column for these vets? That means that if a member of the public searches their vet at the board's website, they could very well be deceived into believing that a particular vet does not have disciplinary actions against them, when in fact they do. This is a huge flaw that must be addressed. Any vet that has ever received any type of disciplinary action should have a Y in the disciplinary column, regardless of whether the board publishes their name in the disciplinary summary or not. Greg's site leaves no one out. All vets disciplined by this board since 1956 have been compiled using the board's own public records, and a link to the backup documentation of the official agreed order is available on the site. You made a couple of trips here to Austin to copy all of this information and compile it in one place. Why is it that a consumer must do your job for you? What is it going to take for this board to finally start taking seriously its charge of protecting the public? Including today's trip, we have now driven over 6,000 miles to attend these meetings and draw attention to the problems we experience and the problems that still exist. We care about getting this board to change for the better. Do you? Thank you very much.
Loris, one more time, please. You give me to work out. That's not fun. Like that. Gets your attention, doesn't it? All right, now this speech probably would work better before my other speech, but that's okay. Greg Munson, Mesquite, Texas. The great Dr. Carl Osborne of the University of Minnesota College of Veterinary Medicine Urolith Center telephoned former Texas Veterinary Board Executive Director Ron Allen and told him that this board was wrong to dismiss our complaint regarding the death of Steppy, our beloved Shih Tzu. If we had been allowed to see the licensee's response, this is important as this ties in with everything else that I have presented today. If we had been allowed to see the licensee's response and to dispute her outrageous lies, we strongly believe there would have been a different outcome to our complaint. How do we know that she lied? Simple. Former board member Dr. Guy Johnson wrote a final analysis of our complaint several months after it had been dismissed, and it was forwarded to us. The statements that he made and his perception of our role cemented the fact that the licensee did indeed lie in her response. Her lies were outrageous, and the words that Dr. Johnson wrote in his final analysis hurt us deeply because they were so untrue. He was absolutely sold on her lies. We can never forgive this board, nor will we forget your complete failure to seek the truth and act impartially in our complaint. Make no mistake, this board failed us. Old wounds were opened anew with two significant events that have occurred since we were last here in October of last year. On November the 24th, 2009, Attorney General Greg Abbott ruled in Open Records Decision number 683 that the board may release to the complainant, as a party to the complaint, a copy of the licensee's response during the investigation process. This ruling is very clear, and this board has always had the authority to provide the licensee's response to the complainant during the investigation, yet refused to do so, while hiding behind a confidentiality clause that should have never been applied to the complainant. This is clear and convincing evidence of this board's propensity to protect the veterinarian rather than the public that you are charged with protecting. In light of the Attorney General's Open Records decision, I once again requested a copy of the licensee's response to our complaint. My request was based on my original request back in May of 2006 during the appeal portion of our complaint. That 2006 request was never addressed by this board. Mr. Helmkamp called me last December to inform me that the board was again denying my request pending yet another ruling from the Attorney General based on the request being after the complaint was closed. My argument to the Attorney General was that our original request in May of 2006 was made while the complaint was still open for investigation, thus making it a valid request that had never been addressed by this board. On February the 24th, an Assistant Attorney General from the Open Records Division, please see attached, ruled on my latest request. This Assistant Attorney General agreed that I submitted a valid request in 2006 that was never addressed. Yet somehow this board was still allowed to withhold from me the licensee's response to our complaint. Read the attached opinion for yourself. If you can explain to me how I still ended up without the licensee's response, I would sure love to hear it. My request was not a new request. It was a renewal of the request from 2006 that was never addressed. Yes, the complaint is now closed. It was not closed when the original request was made. This board has the opportunity to make sure that something like what happened in our complaint does not happen again. It's high time that the complainant's right to receive a copy of the licensee's response during an investigation is addressed with a revision to the official board rules. May our presence always serve as a constant reminder of this board's failure in our complaint. Stimpy deserves better.